Good evening, everybody. We're here for the exhibition opening of Dos Equis, Timeline at the Crossroads Dos Equis, featuring author and artist Diana Molina at the Mexican American Cultural Center. So, welcome, Diana.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good to see all of you.
Diana is going to go over a brief introduction to her exhibition, and then we're going to follow up with studio visits from 5 of the artists that are featured in her book, Icons and Symbols of the Borderland. Diana, would you like to share your slideshow with us?
Yes. Thank you for the introduction. As Rebecca said, this is a retrospective of my work, so I'm showing several series. We're kicking it off with the first collection from the Tarahumara. This is a Tarahumara rattle, and it's from one of the first series, a photographic series in my collection from the Tarahumara. I'm showing in this image a belt, the baskets, photographs, and in this portrait retrospective, I want to start with a few words. I will have my serpent's tongue, my woman's voice, my sexual voice, my poet's voice. I will overcome the tradition of silence. It is from Gloria Andalzúa, Borderlands, La Frontera, The New Mestiza. And I start with Michaca means moon. And this entire retrospective is presenting dimensions of the mestiza experience, beginning with myself. And I begin with the Tarahumara because actually I have more DNA heritage from the Tarahumara than my Spanish ancestry. So my tie to this subject is very deep. Michaca is a young girl that I know in the Sierra. And this is a copper canyon, actually 4 canyons deeper than the Grand Canyon. You can see the huarachis worn by the woman here. And these are made from recycled tires. And the series shows the images from the outdoors where they are cooking, the diet, the metate, which has ancient roots, ancient history from centuries ago, the chile. This is within the traditions of the Tarahumara for the Semana Santa. And here with runners, they are known for their running. Here she is in an ultramarathon race, 50 miles against marathon runners from across the globe, actually. And the spiritual, un altar, Guadalupe. This is Tencha, a young friend of mine, family friend, and at her home altar. Now we switch to the next series, Morena Moderna, contemporary depictions of the Virgen de Guadalupe. With this image, it shows the transnational representation, as many of the images that are in this series will show, between the Mexican, between the American flags and landscape. And so many of these are just, not only the personal journey, but personal depictions. And in the race of light here with this stained glass, I have pictures of my mother and Aunt Becky, my grandmother, Nilda de la Yata, who's also been a part of the Austin community, Marta Cotera over here with, who was one of the key figures in the origins of the Mexican American Cultural Center. And now these are matachinas, which is a dance which originates in Italy, the dance between the Moors and Christians. And this is actually on the dirt road that leads to my home on a desert mesa. Now we're in Mexico City, and this is Ilana Lapid. She is also a Juntos artist and filmmaker. On this particular trip, she accompanied me to to the event when the Pope went to Mexico City for the sainthood by Juan Diego. So this image shows the Pope, Guadalupe, and Telmex too. And here's another example of the commercialism. This image is called Bendita eres entre todas las mujeres. And it shows the image of the Virgen within the two commercial depictions of contemporary women. The next series is 7-string barbed wire fence, the faces of Latino immigration to the US. Here is what they call the Mica card with the woman embedded in the sign. And with all the rallies that are going on, oh, this is the, it keeps forwarding on its own, I'm sorry. Rally for Immigration Reform. This is called Rally for the Future. This is Maria Elena Durazo and Maria Jimenez, along with the union workers and united efforts at the Edmund Pettus Bridge. They were the originators of the Immigrant Workers' Freedom Ride, where we had buses that crossed the country in advocacy for immigrant rights, immigrants reform. This image is represents the changing demographics of the United States, of the landscape of faces, also with women and who represent well, in its entirety, the potential for the Latino voting bloc and the impact it has on our elections, on the direction that the country is going, and the representation of the mix in the changing colors of the American stripes. And this is an example of a wall and the patchwork of the wall. Much of the funding, I believe, except for 10 miles, much of the funding that has gone to the wall in the Trump administration has gone to fortifying existing sections of wall. And this provides an illustration of that, the breasting, the breaking, just the entire patchwork that actually extends across the sections wherever the wall may be. It's an ongoing maintenance cost involved there. Now I switch to landscape, Viva Chihuahua, symbols of survival in the desert landscape. This is the landscape that I inhabit, and as women, as symbols, womanhood as the symbol of life and all it brings, that connection to Mother Nature. We think of her as a woman. This is at White Sands National Park, and I start with the rainbow and clouds and storm, because rainfall and the weather and the climate crisis is so relevant to us in the Chihuahuan Desert. It is just in the month of August, we generally get 2 inches. We've had half an inch. 2 inches is what we get. Today, this month, we've only gotten half an inch. So the water, these are the spiky, the delicacy within the spiky shell of the cactus environment and blooms. Again, the water, stressing the importance of the water for the life-giving aspects of it, with the rivers, the streams, the Rio Grande, the Gila River. The agave, also called mezcal, also with life-giving food. The mezcalero Apache take their name from this plant. It retains water through the roots, and retains and captures it and stores it in the roots, and has one big flowering, and then it dies. And generally it depends on how much water, but it'll take many, you know, up to 20 years. It just varies, but that is why it's also called the century plant. This is the Bosque del Apache, also a watershed with cranes. Cranes are one of the oldest birds that they take flight. They're on land and water, so very symbolic. And these are the ocotillos, which bloom a red blossom and are very medicinal. Oops, it's kind of has a mind of its own here. Now this series, Pura Basura, from recycled materials, it's tapestry that is made of debris, literally debris. Barcode labels, beer bottle labels, candy wrappers. This one is called Serape Diamondback Serape, which is modeled after the Diamondback rattlers around my home. This is the Dos Equis. This is the signature piece of the exhibit and representing the female chromosomes along with everything else it represents. Twice 2020 for the timeline, and a representation of the very popular beverage, and again the tapestries, the influence of tapestries over different cultures and over the centuries to our landscape. And this takes a sacred symbol of the this is called Corazón Espinado, taking inspiration from the Sagrado Corazón with the bleeding heart, and also, you know, representative of the sugar, what we consume, the beer beverages, and what it does to our heart, and what it does for our spirit, and what the debris, the impact in totality of the debris that we are generating. This is Serape del Agave, and it is inspired by the agave plant that I showed earlier in my Viva Chihuahua section. And Cosmos. This was created for a collector and friend of mine, and he wanted the representation of the desert mesa I live upon. So this was created in the autumn going into winter, representing the woman, the mountains, the Gemini constellation, which is my zodiac sign, the way the moon was with Venus, the comet that flew too close to the sun. So all with symbols. And now I move on to an installation from the exhibit. And on the pedestals is my grandfather's typewriter, which I would play and type on since I was a young child. You know, as soon as I could talk and move and walk, I was typing on that typewriter, and I inherited it. And so the link here is with the book in the result of the personal experience, the tie of the personal experience, the family, the stories, and how that influences, how that influenced my creative process. Here in this autorretrato that I created with my mom, I show my first camera, my grandfather Angel's paperweight, picture of my parents with me as a child, and just the setting of the geographic location and family, and again, my grandfather at his little store, first shoe, and those kind of details. But just that storytelling that I grew up with, that we all grow up with over the years from family and objects, and how it led to the book, Icons and Symbols of the Borderland, which I'm very thrilled about, and especially grateful to every Juntos artist for their participation in the process. And that's also part of the joy of the pursuit of this particular piece. And this is where you can get the book. I will pass this on to Rebecca now. And we have a video that features the book, but this is the information about the book. That is the Juntos website, and that's where you can order the book, and the proceeds from book sales will support the efforts by the Juntos Art Association, education and outreach programming.
Yes, thank you, Diana. And so now we're on to our Dos X Pura Mujer, Dos X studio visits. And Diana came up with the idea of celebrating the woman because 2020 represents the 100 years since the women's suffrage and our right to vote. And so to honor that, she selected artists from the icons and symbols of the Borderland exhibition, traveling exhibition and publication, as she just mentioned, to feature through a series of studio visits. And for our first artist, we will be speaking with Cesar Martinez. Cesar Martinez, he was born in Laredo, Texas. He's primarily known for his paintings of pachucos, but he's done so much more than that. And he is a major figure in the Chicano art movement of the 1970s and 80s. He's still based in Texas, in San Antonio, and he is a major icon of art history here in Texas. And we are here to share some of his work today and hear what he has to say. And Diana had selected this first image here because it was the cover of our book. Could you tell us a little bit more about this particular piece?
This is the piece that actually responsible for meeting you. I'm going to say 17 years ago now, when I paid a live studio visit to you. And this was one of the pieces as I was working on the Virgen de Guadalupe project, and went to Cesar's studio and found this piece, another Guadalupe's, and Cesar too. Cesar, please share more information, share the story behind this image.
It's a long story, but everything comes from my memory, from my experiences, people I have met, pictures I have seen, and so on and so forth. And this particular piece originated with a neighbor that I had who was a mechanic, big man. And he did not have any tattoos like this, but his neighbor did have some. So I sort of combined both of those characters. And when I was trying to decide what kind of tattoos to put on his arms, I decided that, well, a lot of these guys that I see here in the barrio, they have women on their arms. So, on the arms, I put some women. Originally, on the chest, I was going to have a big crucifix because that is what the other man in the neighborhood had on his chest, a big crucifix. But then after thinking about it, it occurred to me that I was kind of like unwittingly making a statement about macho attitudes towards women. So the Virgen de Guadalupe became very, very relevant to that. Kind of became like, there's a good girl and a bad girl, and what can be interpreted as any number of types of women. It could be a matriarch, it could be somebody's mother, or it can just be the Virgen de Guadalupe. And so there it is. I realized that I was making a statement when originally I only wanted to do a guy with tattoos.
Well, it certainly makes a statement, and it is very representative of the schisms between how women are portrayed and how women are treated by males. How, you know,
Put in a
the
variety.
attitude of women, of men towards males. Now we'll move to these other pieces.
These are the one with the blue color surrounding the figure. It's a very early piece. I think I did that in the 1980s. And it was simply based on a woman from probably the 1940s with a hairstyle and all of that. And the other one originated with a picture in my, I think it was, yeah, it was my junior high school yearbook. And it was a girl who went through school with me from all the way from elementary to high school. And I kind of liked her hair. This is not really a portrait of that young woman, but I appropriated certain characteristics and did a painting of an older woman.
Well, I can see you like big hair. Tell us about these.
Well, big hair is, I heard a woman say about another woman, oh, she has big hair. And I said to myself, well, I like that. I'm going to use that. And this is probably one of the very first women with what we call big hair, or what women call big hair. It never occurred to me there was a name for that. But anyway, I think that this one was done probably in the 90s, although it's possible it was done in the 80s also. It's an early piece. The other piece is more, well, not that. It was done in the 1990s. And it is a woman that I saw in a picture, because I have a scrapbook that has a lot of pictures that I cut out from whatever source I find. Most of them are from obituaries. But this one was, I think it was a picture in an old Lowrider magazine. At one time they had this wonderful section that had old pictures. And so that is where that one comes from. It's just an example of a woman, probably from the 1940s.
And what are the titles to these?
Well, the obvious one is Mujer con Big Hair. The other one, I don't remember. I don't remember.
Okay, we'll move on to the next ones.
Obviously, well, one of them, the one in color, is another variation of the one you just saw. And her name, by the way, was Guadalupe Gonzalez. So I think that the title of these ones, I usually put Guadalupe G. And this is another version. Just about everything that I do has many versions, because I always think of something else I can do. And this is a good example of that. I needed to say something about the drawing. The drawing is very recent, but it is a woman that is based on a neighbor of mine. She was a big woman, very generous woman, very happy woman, like to party and what have you. And so this it is a representation of that memory that I have of that neighbor. Okay, go on to the next. These two are also versions of La Chata. It's a woman I call La Chata. I don't know if I said that when describing the drawing, but these are all titled La Chata, and these are all versions of the same woman.
Same woman with a different dress.
Yeah, well, different.
But she likes the same style.
But, basically it's a big woman.
Yes, yes, big woman.
This is another version of Mujer con Big Hair, and the hair here is kind of incredible, but I have a picture from where I got that. And I was doing basically a drawing of another woman with an unusual big hairdo, probably from the 50s. And I also have in my source book, my scrapbook, there was an obituary of this fairly young woman. She was obviously a big woman or a chubby woman, but she had the most perfect features I've ever seen. Very smooth. Everything was about her face was very smooth. So since I was on, she did not have big hair, but I put big hair on her. But I was simply using this very wonderful old photograph.
And tell me a little more about these sketches in the way of your process that, as I have witnessed, you create these just in the morning after you have your coffee, or just in informal settings.
Well, I get to where I want to go in many different ways. Usually it starts with some small drawing and then it goes on to something else. Sometimes I actually project pictures. I actually project a picture of my source and then trace it. These two particular ones, these drawings are freehand drawings. And for a long time, I was afraid of drawing because drawing is a thing in itself. And I never did drawings like exhibition quality drawings. They were all working drawings. They had stuff wrong with them and what have you, but I would put them in the computer, fix them up, and create my characters, then project those on the canvas and trace them and then paint them. But very recently, only a few months ago, I decided that I needed to start drawing, finally. And to my surprise, it kind of came easy. And these are all pencil drawings, pencils on paper, of course. And I started drawing, and then to my surprise, but I do these lying down. Instead of reading a magazine to get sleepy at night, I start drawing until I get very sleepy. The problem is that sometimes I get so absorbed in the drawings that I'm doing that it goes on until it's like early morning hours. Sometimes I do go to sleep earlier, but then I might wake up like at 2 or 3 in the morning and can't go back to sleep. So I turn on the light, start drawing until I get sleepy again, or it starts to get daylight. And but anyway, that's kind of like my process. But I don't have there is no set way that I have of doing anything. I have no technique for anything. I just do it. These two are, one is a painting, one is a young woman with somebody's high school letter jacket. And I think that this was the title of it when the Chihuahua's girlfriend with his letter jacket. He was an athlete, the girlfriend of an athlete. The other one, I had gotten a request to do kind of like working class people. And I decided to do a woman with a hard hat, helmet, construction helmet. And the person that I did them for didn't like him. And so I said, well, see you later. That one is now in the collection of the University of Texas at San Antonio, along with a male counterpart.
Great. Well, let's these are the last two images. If you could speak about these.
Yeah, well, one is a woman from probably an obituary picture from the 1930s, a woman with a lot of makeup around the eyes, very dark, very mysterious looking, like those silent movie stars from the before sound movies. And I did a painting of her, no particular name to it. The other one is a more general thing, and it's about things that people sometimes don't want to mention. Like this woman was probably somebody's a married man's girlfriend. So they would, in the barrio, they would call these women, they would not mention them by name. Even if they knew the name, they would say, una fulana, and they saw the man with una fulana somewhere or somewhere else. So anyway, I decided in my mind, I wanted to, what would a fulana look like? So it's kind of glamorous in a funky way, and that's what I came up with. Well, anyway, that's where I was at. I have done.
Well, so many of these women are, they're women I recognize, the women that I've grown up with or seen or remind me of somebody else. Very, very strong.
The idea, something I should say about my work in general, all of these characters that I come up with, like I said, they're not actual likenesses. They are in some cases. But generally, there are characters like in the way that a writer creates a character. And they're very effective because a writer embellishes. It might not be one person, it might be a composite. And that's what these are, and that's why they are effective.
Yes, very interesting composites.
I want them to strike a universal tone. This is somebody you've probably seen somewhere. And I get that comment a lot, and it's kind of like music to my ears when I hear that, because that's the whole idea. These are very universal to the Chicano cultural experience. And everybody says something, oh, I've seen that guy, I've seen her. And so that's one of the big ideas behind this particular series.
Well, great to see your representation of women. We're going to be, thank you so much, Cesar. We're going to be switching to Davinia now. I believe you have another engagement, is that correct?
Well, I'll be hanging around, but I'm not going to be sitting here.
No, I'm talking about Davinia.
It'll be on. I'm going to go to my
Okay.
computer.
Okay. Okay, great.
Good seeing all of you.
Yes, thank you. We need to switch to Davinia now. Okay, if you'd go ahead and introduce Davinia.
Davinia Miraval was born in Mexico City, where she studied graphic communications at the National University in 1998. And that was the same year that she came to the US to continue her passion in art. In 2005, she earned her BFA in metals at UTEP, and she has received many awards and scholarships during her time. Then in 2007, she earned a master's degree in art, majoring in metals and painting. And she's part of the University of Texas, El Paso and the El Paso Community College teaching faculty. And we're here today with Davinia, who's going to speak more about her pieces that are specifically her piece that's in the exhibition and book, as well as some additional works by Davinia.
Thank you, Rebecca. Basically what I do for like the big exhibits, it's installations. Most of my work is in jewelry, but for when I have big shows, I do installations that are based on jewelry. So if you want to go back to the other slide.
There we go.
These are the 4 torsos?
Yes, perfect. So each one of them have a necklace. So that is the jewelry part where my installations are based on. And these necklaces were made thinking about all the days that specifically me as a woman have gone through. This piece was done right after my divorce. And the torsos are made with paper that I collected from my credit card statements because, financially, divorce is devastating. The final torso has my divorce decree that I, pieced it all together to make the torso. And then the other ones have my appointments that I had, like to go to the lawyer and do this and, like kind of continue with your life. we have a little visitor that doesn't want to go away. There you go. So basically that is what's happening with this installation. Each of the flowers in the necklaces reflects one day. How did it feel? And the stones, the different colors of stones are for the month that we are going through. So each single flower, it's a day of the year. And I did this collection for probably a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years. And again, you know, it was my journey as a woman after my divorce. But, you know, like one of the torsos, the last one, it's almost unfinished in the part of the necklace. And that it's because we are waiting for a better outcome. We don't know what is coming. We hope for the best, that, you know, the struggle is passing, and that heavy weight of the necklaces right there on your neck, kind of, you know, tightening within you, it's getting looser and looser and looser, and our journey will be better. So that
when
is,
I first saw this, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I saw this piece at the Rubin Gallery at the university. This was before I knew you, and it had such an impact on me. Just the depth, the story, and it was really great to get the backstory once I met you. But I've always felt very strongly about this particular piece.
Thank you. Yeah, so if you want to move to the other piece, right there. That one is called Ancient Remedies for Rape, Ghosting, Psychological Abuse, and Abandonment. And I was making this piece, again, is another series of necklaces. Each one, it's a necklace that you can wear. And I was thinking about the illness of our times, how, you know, like nowadays we just hear about, you know, like how in India, they rape a woman every 3 seconds. And, you know, like a lot of stuff like that. And of course, now with technology, how, you know, we were dating someone and then they disappeared. They have ghosting us. And so I was, you know, thinking about that, like, you know, this, let's call them illness, right? They're mostly suffered by women, of course by men too, but the majority is the women that have to go through it. So the necklaces carry tea. The little pouches have tea, a mix of tea leaves. And I'm using those as like an alternative also to our current opioid abuse and problem. You know, like if you were raped, you go to the doctor and they give you, I don't know, Xanax or, you know, something to calm you down, or Valium to make you sleep and, you know, like forget about pain and this and that, you know, and they make us addicts. So I was thinking that maybe we can use that tea as an alternative to that. And, you know, especially because, you know, how people say that women are full of hormones, and then when we are in our period, we are crazy. And so we should just keep us medicated, right? So I don't think that is the way to go. So again, that's why I'm offering that tea alternative. And, you know, it's kind of like going back to our roots, to our traditions, how our mothers used to cure us with, you know, chamomile tea because our tummy was hurting, or, you know, and if it doesn't really work, it will comfort us. It will give us peace of mind. And it was a piece for you to think, you know, like, should I pop 2 pills or should I sit down for 2 minutes and drink this tea that I'm wearing on my necklace? I can just pull it out and put it into a cup of tea right there instantly. And it's something that we just need to think about, you know, how our new society, it's just going into the pills. It's, you know, provoking certain ailments and dysfunctional families and things like that. So that is what I'm trying to hit with this installation. And actually both installations are interactive. When I presented this at the gallery, I was actually serving the tea there for the people who attended. And they will pick if they wanted, you know, like, feel better about rape or ghosting or psychological abuse, or, you know, that they felt abandoned. And, you know, I will serve them the tea to make them feel better, at least for a little bit. The other one, the living the dream, it's actually has the voice of my ex-husband inside the necklaces, and it's a recording. So you can see, you can hear him, you know, talking to me on the phone, saying things that nobody should say to each other. And then, you know, some of my responses also. So both pieces are interactive in a certain way. They really bring you to be part of the piece. It's not just something to see, but it's something for you to think, and that at certain point you can also wear, and you can keep it with you close to your heart. So those are.
Well, they have a cathartic impact, I believe, in the processing that you have gone through and that you continue to go through. And I would say extremely relevant to our 2020 experience, when so many women are suffering from domestic abuse and depression, and the ailments, everything is more amplified during this time. Yeah. And these pieces really, really speak to it in a very relevant way as we address these the challenge of the day that is part of women's life. So, Rebecca, do you have anything to add to the conversation with Davinia?
No, I'm very fascinated to learn more about these pieces. I had seen them in the book, but it's wonderful to hear you explain about how these are receipts and pieces of your past. And I love how on the last one you've left room for the future and, you know, what's to come. So it's very fascinating that you shared it with us. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for the invitation and for the opportunity.
Thank you, Davinia.
Thank you, Diana.
Now we will move to Victoria Suescum. Rebecca, if you could please introduce Victoria.
Victoria was born to Panamanian parents, and she's a longtime resident of San Antonio. Her work has been exhibited internationally since 1983 all over the world. And she's had many honors, including the McDowell Connolly Award. And she's served as visiting artist, guest speaker, and a secretary of the board for the Blue Star Art Space in San Antonio. She's also an associate professor at the Austin Community College, and she earned her Master's of Fine Arts from UT San Antonio. And we're really proud to have her here today. She also has an exhibit at the McNay right now, so we're wonderful that she's made some time to come and speak with us here.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you, Diana, for all of your support of artists and women in, especially through Juntos and especially through your publication of the book for Juntos. I have painted a lot of women in my work, and I paint from a woman's point of view, obviously. So some of my paintings are about women in their habitat. And this is a Panamanian woman in Panama, and you will notice that on the right there is a bull saying, "Hay carnes de res y puerco aquí todos los días," and that is from the vernacular. That is inspired by signage that you see outside mom and pop shops in Spanish-speaking portions of the Americas. And I grew up surrounded by these images. I did not have access to museums, so these are my museum. My museum is from the streets. Mi museo está en la calle. And so you will notice that language plays a big part of my work. And so hay carnes de res is misspelled. Then we have septentria, which is very, very fancy, a very fancy word for one of the directions, east, west, north, south. Then we have some Spanish, Bahia Honda, some French, Dampier, who's one of the buccaneers that came through Panama and stole all kinds of things probably. And there's his ship down there on the right. That's one of the conquistadors' ship actually. And we can go to the next slide. Rebecca, do you want to go on to the next slide?
It's on the next slide. I've moved it, I believe.
Perfect. This one is called Tremendo Manicure, and it was the keystone painting for a show at the Museo Alameda, which at the time was the first Smithsonian affiliated museum in the south of the United States, and it is no longer in existence. It is currently the Centro de Artes, and it is a painting in which a woman faces a Venus de Milo. Behind her is a bottle of detergent. Below her is a hand receiving a manicure. And the idea being that women are deceived by advertising that the detergent is gonna make our hands nice and soft and we will be as beautiful as the Venus de Milo. But that is not the case. You just get stuck doing the dishes. And the painting is framed with skills I learned making piñatas as a child. And it is plastic that is harvested from wading pools and other plastic things that are abandoned at the end of summer and left in people's front lawns. Next slide. This one is Loncheria La Sirena. And you can see that it is advertising pescado frito as its specialty of the house, which is fried fish. But the sirena, the mermaid, is actually carrying a plate of chicken. And I have no doubt that some of the guests would actually rather have her for lunch. So there is all of that play between images and words that don't quite go together, but when you do absorb them together, they lead you to new meaning. Again, this woman is flanked by two figures. On one side is the male Mano de Piedra Durán, and on the left is the Venus, again, de Milo. And so those are the two sort of gold standards for male and female. And the mermaid is her own gold standard. And those, the painting is huge. It's about 4 by 5 feet tall, 4 feet wide. And I just put her in a niche, in a nicho. And that is, the Venus and Mano de Piedra are painted directly on the wall. So together, all of this is probably about 12 feet tall. Next slide. This is imagery inspired by a beauty parlor called Salón de Belleza Lupita, and beauty parlors, which are parlors of beauty, like a fine arts gallery, are where I first learned the word aesthetic. And I did not understand what people were telling me or talking about when they would use the word aesthetic in graduate school. And then I realized, oh, when I saw it in the beauty parlor, oh, that's what they've been talking about. So I learned about beauty and finessing and making things look a certain way, and your taste in the things that you like. All that idea of aesthetic, I learned it in a beauty parlor. And in this case, you have, it's a unisex parlor, And so you have the man on the left. But the funny thing is that they look like they're having an argument. I don't know how the people in this beauty parlor thought somebody would think, oh, I need my hair cut, I'm gonna go in there. This is not your normal type of advertising. Next slide. These are objects that are used to draw women and make us think that good things will happen, but they're actually just a lot of work. So you have a blow dryer on the left, and then you have a diamond ring on the right-hand side. So big hair and weddings are a lot of work. Next. This piece is one of what I call my 6-packs, and I just recombine images and put them together. And in this case, you have the woman from Salón de Belleza Lupita, below a sign in the middle top, which advertises the services that a beauty parlor will offer. And as you can see, it is unisex. You have the carnes de res figured again. On the bottom left, you have carniceria, which has, instead of beef, it has a chicken underneath, but it's also misspelled with an S. And there is a lot that I could say about any of the images that I have already shown you, or these, but really I hope that every person just looks at them, that they play off of each other, and that you draw your own reading. Make these stories, bring them into your life. This is Mujer Bien Peinada, and this is another woman being used to lure you into the beauty parlor, and she has this very nice necklace on and big earrings. So it reminds me of the 80s, you know, that you'd want this sort of coif. And I again am inspired by the vernacular that I see, and beauty parlors are just one of the big #1 storefronts that still have painted signage on the outside. So carnicerias, ferreterias, salones de belleza, those are and auto body shops. Those are the most common types of signage that you will find. This is a painting that has traveled all around the world. I went to the 50th Venice Biennale. I was a part of the Panamanian delegation, official there. And it is a woman who displaces Leonardo da Vinci's man, from Vitruvius Man, and she is now Vitruvius Woman. And she is a native woman. She is not a Spanish woman, but look at how generous she is. She has so many arms, and she is breastfeeding a child, and she still has an extra hand to welcome that boatload of Spaniards that's coming over to South America. Above her head is a ceramic of the pre-Columbian, pre-arrival artwork that existed in Central America. And it is a Native American wearing a jaguar skin. And so she is crowned with this native head as she welcomes the Spanish men. And it was seen in a marketplace in Ecuador, where this work also traveled to a Biennale in Cuenca. And I'm sorry, this painting did not travel. I was in the Biennale in Cuenca, and I saw in the marketplace, they were advertising panties bikini. So they had misspelled bikini, and my name is Victoria, and I go by Vicky. So hence the panties were made for me. And so I've put the panties also where Leonardo's Vitruvius Man would normally go. Next slide. And this is Vulcanizadora, inspired by a painting I saw in Mexico and the island of Cozumel. And it's a long story, but basically it's from an auto repair shop that repairs flats. But really what needs repair here is that man's, ego. And no amount of soothing by this beautiful young woman is really going to make him feel any better. And you can see that the gato, the jack thing that they use to lift the car, is very little. And it's just like the whole car is just perched so precariously, and the man doesn't look like he knows how to change a flat tire. So I do not know how this is going to turn out, but it doesn't bode well. And the vulcanizador is what you call the tire repair shops because they vulcanize the rubber. But in this case, the real vulcanizadora is her. She's the one that burns. All right, next slide. And this image was also part of the exhibit at the Museo Alameda, and it is also inspired by a beauty parlor. It is a woman whose fingernails are very, very long, beautifully manicured, and she holds roses. And you know, the big stereotype is, oh, the woman is as gentle as the petals of a rose, but really her fingernails are as sharp as the thorns, so watch out is what I have to add to that. And I happened to make this on the floor using materials that I found in either Latin American shops in San Antonio or from native trees. And so the manicure itself are all made from poisonous beads of the mountain laurel, as are the bracelets, the yellow bracelets. And this is the last image that I wanted to show you. Thank you all for looking at the work, and I hope that you look closely at paintings when you go past them at signage. This is from a shop that sells things for your house, again luring the woman in. Oh, you can decorate your house, and it's a his and hers matching mattresses. So it's advertising twin y queen, but really it's a his and hers. And so on that, I pass the baton to the next artist tonight.
Well, thank you so much, Victoria. It's so, I've always been very fascinated by your beautiful vernacular paintings. And you touch on nature, the historic relationships, the relationship between men and women. And at the end of the day, all that lures the female into the shops. So thank you, and always good to visit your studio.
Thank you, Diana.
Now we will pass it on to Mark. And Rebecca, if you could please introduce Mark Clark.
Let's go ahead and go to Mark. Perfect. So Mark Clark was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. He studied painting informally with Joseph P. White, Robert Stark, and Kevin McDonald. Clark has worked as an art handler in several museums across the country, and his one-person exhibits have been shown throughout the Texas Valley and the East Coast. He's had many group exhibitions throughout the country as well as in Mexico. And we're really pleased to have Mark Clark here with us today to share his images and works that are both in the book as well as original pieces. Oh, let me unmute.
Oh, hi, can you hear me?
We can hear
Yes,
you.
we can.
Oh, hey. It's good to be here. This first image here brings back some very interesting memories. So when I worked for the National Gallery, they sent me to Mexico City because I was the only one of 1,000 employees in the building that spoke Spanish. And one of my jobs down in Mexico City was to pick up the head of Coyo Chauqui, which was about a 400-pound greenstone head. Coyo Chauqui's now a moon goddess. She was the daughter of Guadalupe, the earth deity. And apparently Guadalupe got pregnant by a ball of feathers, and the rest of the family was absolutely horrified, and they vowed to slay the baby that was going to be born. They didn't know that it was going to be Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, really ferocious war god. And he was listening while they were plotting his demise. And so he sprang from his mother's womb, fully dressed and fully armed, and using his obsidian bladed sword, he cut his sister into pieces. And he also slew the co-conspirators. There were 300 lords that were plotting against him, and he threw their bodies into the sky and made the Milky Way. But Guadalupe was really heartbroken at the death of her daughter, and so he tossed the pieces of her corpse into the sky, and it forms the moon. I'm actually a lot fonder of other images of the moon. My favorite is the moon rabbit in Maitsley. They had 4 or 5 different moon deities, Tequiztecatl, Tequizcihuatl, Maitsley, as I stated before, and even Tlazolteotl, the earth goddess, had some control over the moon. But this stone that I based this painting on was the whole reason that they unearthed the Templo Mayor. They knew where the temple in Mexico City had been located, but after the conquest, they built some very nice buildings over top of it. And in the late 1970s, they were digging a gas line and discovered this stone, this enormous stone. I guess it's 13 feet in diameter, and it shows what you see here. I had to invent the color, and using information I gained from the codices, I took some educated guesses, and turned out I wasn't so far from wrong, or so far from right. They have this on display at the Museo de Templo Mayor now, and there's a slide that comes on that shows you the way that the coloring actually was. They did tests on the surface of the stone and figured out what went where. And I was close, just a few minor errors, but I decided to stick with my own impression. And this painting is 4 feet square, and I don't agree with the misogyny in it, but the history and the theology is
what's
very
beautiful.
important.
What's beautiful about the message on this is the broken pieces, the broken pieces that come back into a beautiful whole that represents the moon and light, and there's even a stronger power from the broken pieces. We'll move on to the next image now.
Thank you.
And this is certainly the piece in its entirety, but here's a detail of the women. Please tell us about this, the title of this piece, and then the depictions of the women.
Oh yeah, this is a catalog of Mexican street performers and vendors, and I picked a variety of people from various walks of life, from the Aztec dancers that'll dance at a stoplight for spare change, to elote vendors and mariachis, and the ladies of the night who are sharing a joint as they walk down the street. And then there's a lady who's haggling with an ice cream vendor because her kid dropped his popsicle, and she's made up to appear lighter than she actually is. And I don't know, it just seemed to be a kind of a cross section of life in Mexico and on the border. I was very fond of balloon vendors and did a series of paintings of globeros. And I was told by people in Matamoros that no Mexican would ever paint one. And, I was just kind of appalled that there's such classism, that things so beautiful would be disdained by people that see them every day. This
We're
next
going to try to
painting-
keep this on the focus on women, Mark.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, if
Okay.
you don't mind. So
Oh,
let's
don't
go on
really.
to this piece. This is only one woman among the many men. If you could speak to this particular piece.
Oh, okay. This one here, this is a balacera con suburban roja, which is based on a photograph that a friend sent me via email of the aftermath of a shootout in Reynosa. And there is a female head at the lower left. It's been decapitated by the sicario with machete. But the lady in the red dress is kind of screaming in horror and running away from the scene. The photograph that I was sent was really rather horrifying. I think there were a total of 9 dead sicarios in and around the SUV that had been shot to pieces with a large caliber machine gun by the Ejército, the Mexican army. And I had to clean it up. People were really kind of messed up. It was a horrifying photo, and it really made an impression on me. And I wanted to use the lady to convey the terrible nature of the scene. It was really disturbing, and the picture still haunts me every time I think of it. But at the time I painted it, there was a great deal of violence across the river in Matamoros and upriver in Reynosa. And I thought it was important that somebody record the violence that was going on a almost daily basis on that side of the river. Yeah, I can remember when Tony Tormenta got whacked in Matamoros, 50 people died, and I could see the helicopters circling and the plumes of smoke from burning semi-tractor trailers on the road to Reynosa. This painting...
Well, you've certainly had a very close-up view of the border violence and happenings. Now we move to this image you have of the
oh, yeah.
Saludos desde la Frontera, one of my favorites.
Oh,
And
yeah.
sometimes controversial image of the Rio Grande and border wall scenario. If you could speak to this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is the second version I did of this theme. And I put the old bridge, the Brownsville Matamoros bridge that was put up in, I guess, about 1911 in the background because it's very distinctive. And I used to live about 3/4 of a mile on the other side of the bridge. I could see it from my studio before they built that stinking border wall through my view of the river. And I really hate the wall, and I wanted to show my disdain for the Customs and Border Protection people, the Border Patrol, and ICE by showing how easy it was to distract the Border Patrolman who you see waving at the pinup in the middle of the river who's floating on an inner tube to distract them from their job while 20 indocumentados swim the river behind them, climb up the bank, and then go over the wall. And I had postcards made of the larger version of this that I used to ride my bicycle along the river on the Mexican side of the wall. And when I encountered Border Patrolmen, I would give them a free postcard. And their responses were always rather amusing. But I really kind of wanted to rub their nose in it. The whole, I don't know, the whole issue, the Northern Gringos' ideas about Mexican immigration really offend me. And
you've also had the controversial aspect as well as the objectification of women has come up with this image.
Oh yeah, well she is rather tantalizing, and these suckers are really kind of falling for it.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd checked a book out of the library, The Great American Pinup, and thought I would do the great Mexican-American pinup in response to that. And so I took a sexualized image of a female and put it dead center in the painting, and then use it to ridicule the Department of Homeland Security. It was very effective, but it certainly pissed off a number of people, including the wife of an ICE agent who called me out as the poster child for cultural appropriation. Yeah, she reviewed a show I did of the Aztec deities without ever going to the show. And so,
well, this particular image really caught my attention from the first time, and I went to your studio visit, and I'm happy to say that it now hangs in my own studio.
oh yeah.
And thank you so much, Mark. We're going to have to wrap it up here.
Perfect.
With, let's see if we have Gaspar Enriquez.
Thank you for including me. Adios.
Thank you so much. Adios, Mark. Thank you. And really enjoyed your insights, your narrative on your pieces. This is Gaspar Enriquez studio. We had some kind of glitch in communication. So I will just go through some of his,
Well,
do we have Gaspar here?
yes, we have Gaspar
Wonderful.
here. Would you like me to?
Okay, please.
Okay. Gaspar Enriquez was born in El Paso and began his art training at the East Los Angeles Junior College. He earned his BA from the University of Texas, El Paso, and his Master of Arts and Metals at New Mexico State University. He taught art at Bowie High School on the El Paso Juarez border for decades, and many of his students provided inspiration for his work. His work has been exhibited in numerous exhibitions, including the well-known Cara Chicano Art Resistance and Affirmation, 1955 to 1985, and it has been exhibited throughout the Southwest and the United States. He was also the first commission from the National Portrait Gallery for the Smithsonian. So we are very, very pleased to have Gaspar here with us tonight.
Can you see the images, Gaspar?
I can see the images, yes.
Okay, so if you could just speak about each image and we'll just flip through them.
Okay. This, the one on the left side is titled La Gebbie in Red. And all of the images that you probably will see, or most of them, were my students. So I started recording them when I actually started teaching there, because they lived in the same neighborhood that I used to live when I was growing up. The one on the right-hand side is La Erica La Cholita. And she was one of my, well, actually, they're all my favorite students. So can we go to the next one? There we go. The one on the left-hand side is called La Petsy. I did another one of La Petsy y los Homeboys y los Cuartos. She was also one of my students. The other one on the right-hand side is Sandra La Cholita, and she is actually the sister of Erica. She is also one of my favorite models. I used her in several paintings. One of them, which is Generation of Attitudes, and she was actually the Pachuca, the Tirilona, and the Chola. Next. This is Ana La Charra. She was, of course, one of my students. This is when I was doing charreadas and charros and charreadas. Okay, thank you. Next. Am I still on?
There had
Yes.
been a yes, yes. We're on Anahakas.
Where,
If you can speak to that one.
okay. Ana Hawkins is a good friend of mine. She's um, she was a metal instructor at UTEP for a while, but she does some tremendous little art metal pieces that describes a lot of our culture as we were growing up. Can we go to the next one? This is Susie Davidoff, and I've been doing a series of artists that are friends of mine and familiar, and whose work I have admired and admired their dedication. So there's going to be several of them, several artists that I have painted.
And I just want to add about Susie Davidoff that she has really places a great focus on the natural world that surrounds us, that I've always admired as well.
That would be the
next.
background of hers.
Yes.
This is Rochelle Davis, and she was a metal instructor at UTEP for a long, long time. The earring that she's wearing is one of her pieces. This one is Celia Munoz, also from, okay, we went back, okay. We're going to Celia Munoz, and she just got, recently got the award for the Art League of Houston. She's also one of my, I admire her work and her dedication.
And I want to add about
Next.
Celia. She's also from the Segundo Barrio, you know, La Bui High,
Do we have
where
another one?
Gaspar taught. And one more to add about, oh, sorry.
Diana, you're muted. Hang on.
Unmute. There we go. Okay, sorry. Celia Munoz is also a Juntos artist, and from the Segundo Barrio, El Paso, Texas, originally.
Chihuahuita.
Chihuahua. And here's the next images.
The one on the left-hand side is image of a friend of mine's daughter making her first communion. I thought she had a really delicate dress. That's why I did her. The one on the right-hand side is another one of La Erica. This will be a profile only in black and white. Erica and Sandra were two of my favorite models. Next. This is a nude, and the tattoo on her back is, the title of this one is Carrying the Past, and she carries the past, her culture in her back. The face that you will see, that would be her face. Since you are unable to see it, I actually put her face in the back. Next.
Well, I believe that concludes the images for you, Gaspar, and you know, such a strong representation of the women here in El Paso, the artists here, they're traditional, and the non-traditional in a sense.
Yes, and very representative.
I might add that all of the work is airbrush, acrylic on paper.
Okay. And this particular image is also included in the Icons and Symbols of the Borderland book, which it's always been a favorite here. And now I return to the book. And Rebecca, would you like to?
I want to thank all of the artists who were here tonight with us, taking time to share their work. Diana did a lot of work over the past 6 years putting together this traveling exhibition as well as this publication. And these are just a few of the artists that we spoke with here tonight that are represented in the book. And we encourage everyone to purchase a copy of it. It's available through our shop, juntosart.org/shop. And just know that a percentage of every book purchase goes back to support the Juntos Art Association's education and outreach programming. And so we really want to thank everybody, as well as the Mexican American Cultural Center, for hosting this retrospective exhibition with artist and author Diana Molina. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And Diana, I would like to especially thank you for all your work. You and Cesar have been tremendous in all this, doing all this work for us. Thank you.
Well, it's been my pleasure, Gaspar, and just I cannot begin to express how grateful I am to each and every artist who participated in the making of the book, in the traveling exhibit. It's been a great learning experience for me, and a joy to delve into the art. It makes it all worth it. And the very deep and meaningful friendships with so many of you. And thank you for participating in this artist studio visit today. Thanks to you all. Viva la mujer.
Yep. Mil gracias. Thank you.
Gracias, Mark.